Good afternoon. I want to thank you all for coming to the annual mandatory liquor renewal meeting. My name is Steve Sprague. I am the city auditor. Our office takes care of the renewal of the liquor licenses as well as issuing the licenses in the first place. Welcome to City Hall. For many of you, I think it's your first time here. If you get a chance, wander around and kind of explore a little bit, learn what departments are in City Hall. As a staff person that gets to work here every day, we really appreciate being here. It's a wonderful space, and very welcoming and bright and healthy, I think. You get your health in when you walk up the sidewalk and, or you park in a different parking lot or something like that. So we have a presentation today. I'm going to make a few comments a little later, and the chief's got some comments. But the health department wants to introduce a speaker here for us today.
All right, so we have Greg Lemke with the Rape Abuse Crisis Center, and he's going to talk about Green Dot trainings.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thanks for letting me take a few minutes of your time. My name is Greg Lemke, and while I do work at the Rape and Abuse Crisis Center, I'm here as a representative of what's known as our Changing Our Environment Committee. This is a committee that was started, I think, in 2012. I've been part of it for about 4 years, and this kind of explains what we do. It's a diverse group of people throughout the community. There's people who represent businesses, organizations, people who are just part of this committee as individuals themselves. And our purpose is to create a community free of intimate partner and sexual violence. And as part of that, you saw on that first slide, it talked about the Green Dot Initiative, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. But we live in a pretty safe community, but we want to make it safer. And part of what our initiative is to prevent violence and abuse before it happens. And so people come to this committee, like I said, from a variety of places and for a variety of reasons. For me, again, I've been on it about 4 years. I spent about 30 years in the law enforcement profession, 25 with the Fargo Police Department, worked at Moore State for a while in public safety, and then now work at rape and abuse. So obviously I've been around and exposed and seen violence and abuse and the effects and impacts that it has on people. And so we all kind of have our own story as people who are involved in this committee. This just gives you some idea of the groups, organizations who are part of our committee. All the colleges, the universities have representatives on our committee. County and Lutheran Social Services, again, the community volunteers, the individuals who are part of it. Public Health has representative, the Village, Family Services, representatives from WDAY. So we have a wide variety of people. And what the COE does is we meet once a month. That's all we ask from people is once a month for an hour at Fargo Cass Public Health. We provide lunch. And so that's the gist of what we want people to be involved in. We have initiatives, we have other things that we do, and if people want to do more, they certainly can. Anybody can be a member of this committee. I have a sheet in the back. If it's something that interests you or you just want more information, you can just leave me your name, phone number, email address, and I'll send you more information. You can come to a meeting. There's no obligation. You come and you sit through a meeting and you're like, no, this isn't for me. It's understandable. But anybody can come. So if you want more information, there's also some cards of mine in the back. So the focus of the Green Dot Initiative is to end power-based violence, personal violence. And again, that includes, but not limited to, sexual assault, dating and domestic violence, stalking, elder abuse, and child abuse. So really any kind of abuse or violence is what we want to do. And we want to make the community safer for everybody. So the strategy is called Green Dot, and Green Dot is a national strategy. This isn't something that we just came up with. It's been around for several years. It's in several states. It started in Kentucky. The people that we've been trained by and had the most contact with are from doing it in Anchorage, Alaska, and they've been pretty successful, and they've worked with bars pretty exclusively up there to try and implement this. What it is initially is that we had somebody, they came here and did some training for us last April or May, and we sent, I think, 15 people. And part of this initiative, too, is through the North Dakota Department of Health. Again, this is not something that we just decided we were going to do on our own. So the Department of Health is helping with some funding and things like that, logistics, and Grand Forks and Valley City are the other communities that started last year when we did also. Bismarck, I guess, is going to be jumping on board also. So there's other communities in our area. And with Green Dot, you can focus on community, you can focus on college, or you can focus on schools, which would be the K through 12. And we decided as a committee that we wanted to focus on the community part of it. We are working obviously closely with the colleges, but to start this, we had to target who are we going to actually target in what area. Because we live in a huge community, and if we take in Fargo, Moorhead, West Fargo, it's big, and we have to start with a defined area. So we decided we were going to start in the downtown area. It's busy, there's a lot of people there, there's a lot of foot traffic, there's people that come from out of town, there's people that come down there from the colleges, and so we decided that's the area we're going to focus on in working. Obviously, then we'll go down and work with the colleges. NDSU is working on right now trying to get Green Dot established on their campus. We've done a lot of work with MSUM. We've done bystander training, I think, for all their athletes, all their incoming freshmen. And so that's part of this, is the bystander training is part of the Green Dot. And then again, schools and entire community. But we have to start small, so we're starting with the downtown area. So again, then we have to target populations in that area. So downtown businesses, looking at employees and employers, people who live downtown, again, focusing on the college students because they come downtown, they work downtown, and then underserved populations, with whether it's homeless, whether it's people from the GLBTQ community, whatever. It's just underserved populations are also people that we're trying to target as part of this initiative. So what it is what we do is we're starting with focus groups. Because focus groups are going to help us to kind of hone down what really we need to do to take the steps to make the community safer. And so we actually, back up in the sign-up sheet back there also, we have 2 focus groups coming up. We have one May 14th. We're calling that one for community leaders. It's a variety of people that are coming. These are going to be held at Atomic Coffee, 5 to 7 p.m. Then on the 21st, we're doing downtown residents. And we're still looking for downtown residents. So if any of you live downtown, know anybody who does, wants to come and spend an hour and a half, 2 hours, get some coffee, some treats, a gift certificate, they're more than welcome. And again, the sign-up sheet's back there for that. So the focus groups take about an hour and a half, 2 hours. And of course, looking at downtown, we want to have one for employees, at least 1 or 2. So we're looking for people who work downtown, people who own businesses downtown, and we want to set up a focus group for them. And we'll come to you, we'll set it up, we'll come day, night, whatever works for you are the people who work for you. Then we have what's called overview training, and those take about an hour and a half, where we can come in and just talk to a smaller group of employees and really dig a little bit deeper into what Green Dot is and how it works. We did one of those not too long ago at Fargo-Cass Public Health. We've done one at Cass County Social Services. So that's another option. And then the bystander intervention workshop is a day long. It takes about 6 to 7 hours to do that. So that's asking a little more of people, so we understand if they just want to do a focus group or if they want the overview training where we come to them for an hour and a half and give them more information, and then maybe they want to send an employee or 2 to the training, the intervention training. And it's free. It takes, again, 6 or 7 hours, but we set that up. Again, we're willing to work with people as far as location and time. So what is Green Dot? Again, this is really a short and sweet of it, but it's a moment in time where you do something to hopefully prevent violence or abuse from happening. And it can be very simple things. We're not asking for these huge things where you say you do something. It can be just checking on a friend. Are you okay? Giving someone a ride home. You go out to drink with somebody or go out for, whatever, dinner with somebody, and they've had too much to drink, a coworker, whatever, and you just, hey, I'll give you a ride and I'll bring you back in the morning to get your car. It's just minor things like that that you're taking steps to try and prevent violence or abuse happening to somebody. Taking a minute to call 911. Because you'll see I'll talk about what the 3 strategies are, and one of them is to directly get involved. We don't ever, and we preach this, we don't want you to get involved if it's physical. We don't want you to get involved if you feel unsafe. Okay? So it's just taking a minute to do those various things. So what are red dots then? Red dots, again, are a moment in time where somebody does something or says something that's harmful to another person. So it can be the moment it takes for someone to hit someone, choice for somebody to have sex with somebody without their consent, using your words to humiliate, threaten, or coerce somebody to do something. So part of the training is to see these things as they're happening, okay? See, again, We'll use a bar because maybe somebody's in a bar and they see somebody that just keeps buying somebody drinks, and they're sitting there with 3 or 4 drinks in front of them, and you're just watching that, and it's like, oh, person looks like they're getting intoxicated, and they don't look like they're really interested, okay? Well, you can do something to try and prevent that, and we'll talk about here in a second what some of those options are. Okay. If it's somebody you know, obviously, then it's easier to just directly say something to them and say, let's go, what are you doing? I know you look like you're done, things like that. You don't want to stay, you've had enough to drink. That's directly, okay? It's directly you see something happening, again, then that's after the fact. Are you trying to prevent something? And you directly approach the person and say something, but again, only if you feel safe. Okay. This is one we don't really tell people to do a lot, especially, again, physical, stay out of it. That's what the police are for. Call the police. Directly can also be one that, an example, you're in the grocery store and you see a mother with 2 little kids or a father with 2 little kids struggling. Kids are, getting out of control. Maybe they're getting a little loud or something. And you can just, you see that and you want to prevent it from getting worse, and you go up there and you just say something like, I know it's tough. I have 2 little kids at home. I can see, maybe do you need some help here? Can I help you with one of these kids or something? It's directly getting involved without confronting somebody, so to speak, to cause the situation to get worse. Distract is another. These are the strategies that you can use. So distract would be another one. The same example in the grocery store, you see that happening, and you go up and you say, you want to stop what's happening, so you go up to that person and you just say, excuse me, I'm new here, I've never been to this store, can you tell me where the deli is, or do you know where the bathroom is? It's that second or that moment that stops that activity that hopefully prevents it from getting worse. Okay. So distracting can be another one, and delegate. Delegate is one, again, where you call the police, where you tell the bouncer, you tell the manager, you tell somebody else about what's happening. You say, did you see that happening? Do you know what's going on over there? And just point it out to somebody else. The thing we want to point out to people, too, with these is it doesn't mean you just do one and then stop. You may try and distract them, it doesn't work. Then you maybe tell somebody else and nothing happens. Then you call the police, or you directly go up and say something. There's multiple options for you in these intervention strategies. And again, safety is paramount for you. So there's different options for people to use when we talk about intervene. But one of the things we really want to make sure people understand too is that we all have barriers. So when we talk about this and we talk about the direct and we say, what would be your barrier from going up and intervening with somebody? And a lot of people will say safety. I'm not going to go up there and get involved. That's okay. The thing is, we want people to recognize you have barriers, and it's okay. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. It doesn't mean you can't help in some other way. Okay? Delegate. Maybe some people don't want to go tell the manager or the boss. Maybe they're with their friends, and it's like, well, I'm not going to be the one who goes and tells. Distract. Maybe you're not good at that. Maybe you kind of, you're too shy or whatever. It's okay. We want people to understand that there are barriers to these strategies, but recognizing those helps you to switch to another one, maybe, to get somebody else involved, to tell somebody else about it. So those are the strategies that we use. And so these are just some of the things, the options that we're asking. We want everybody to be part of the solution. Again, I think everybody wants a safe community, a safer community. And so bring us to your business. Again, we'll come. There's no cost to you. We can come and we do a quick 20-minute. We don't like to do a lot of those, but a quick 20-minute overview type of thing. More the hour and a half one with any amount of people, whether it's management, whether it's staff. Attend one of the focus groups. You can sign up on the sheets back there. We do have a bystander intervention workshop, the 6-hour one that is set up for June 12th. If anybody's interested, again, my cards are back there. Anybody can come to that. And then again, join the overview training piece of it. So again, what we're asking and we're saying is that no one has to do everything, but if we all do something, it makes it for us a safer community. And so we're asking for your help to do that. We're asking for your help to be part of a focus group. Bring us in to do that hour and a half overview training, or send somebody to the 6-hour training if you want to. It's a lot of information here in a short amount of time. But again, cards back there, just put your name, email address down there, and I can send you when the next meeting is, or we can have a conversation if you want more information about that. But again, just realizing that this is something that is done throughout the nation. Valley City, surprisingly, being a small area, they're way ahead of us. I mean, I suppose there's advantages to that. But when they had training here, we all send teams. We sent 15, and actually Grand Forks has one coming up in August, a 3-day training that it's free. That they pay for your mileage and food and everything. So if anybody's interested in that, let me know. But when Valley City sent people, their team consisted of people from their sheriff's department, their state's attorney's office, from their university. They had a wide variety of people there. And they've already done 2 or 3 bystander trainings in Valley City. So they're really moving forward with this. Grand Forks is also working with UND to get it moving. And so we want to make sure that Fargo's on board with this, and Bismarck, like I said, is just starting. So anything else that you'd like to know, leave your name back there, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. And again, thanks for your time. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Greg. That's some great stuff there. Some of those thoughts, like even, we can certainly apply them to our businesses, but, if you're even in the grocery store, like you said, and you see someone that's struggling or something like that, just distract for a little while, and maybe things will kind of settle down. That's a great thing. So some people got here a little late, which is fine. We understand, because the addressing on this building, this is the address, 225 4th Street North is the address that the post office assigned. I can see how it's can be a little bit misleading, I guess, but you're all here now, and so that's great. Now that you're here again, I'll welcome you to take a little time and visit around City Hall and look and see what businesses or what departments are here that maybe could assist you at some point down the future. So a couple of things that I want to just visit about. One of the things that has come up periodically throughout the year are the Class E permits, or our special serving permits. So with that, we want to just, the idea of the special serving permit, the Class E permit, it allows you to take your liquor license off your licensed premise for a given date, a given time, for a special event. So, what kind of things would qualify? Well, maybe you've got a wedding or something like that, or a company picnic or a party or something, like that. Now, the things that we tend to not look at as a special event is, well, I want to have an event in my parking lot every Friday and Saturday night through the summer. Well, that's not something that is, a special event. The other thing that we kind of look for is who is benefiting from it. If it's a wedding, the bride and groom are benefiting, right? If it's just to have a band in the parking lot, it's the bar that's benefiting. And so we want to make sure that we don't abuse those and overuse them. So part of that too is our routing within the city. We get those and we send them to police, fire, building inspections, and health, just to make sure that everybody is okay with maybe a location or something like that. We've seen a few places that tend to be like a pop-up bar or something, and maybe they're not approved for assembly to have 100 people there, that type of thing. And so we're just looking to make sure that everybody is safe and everybody's kind of playing on the same playing field. So that's kind of what we're looking at when we do those Class E or special event permits. I've heard some comments. Recently, I just got an email within the last couple of weeks where somebody was looking at starting a restaurant and said, but I've heard there are no liquor licenses available in Fargo. Well, just want to clarify that that if you're starting a restaurant, we have licenses available. There are no caps on those. You can get a full alcohol license that requires you to sell more food than alcohol, and it does not allow you to have a bar, but the cost of that license is only $3,000. So, when you look at that compared to, people hear about licenses that cost $250,000. Well, that license, it's there, it's available, again, for a restaurant. And if your restaurant, your theme, requires you to have that physical bar structure, that license is we call it an FA license, food and alcohol license, and it's $100,000, but you're paying to have that physical bar structure, and then again, your food sales still have to exceed your alcohol sales. As we move up the chain, kind of, if you get up to the full bar that has no restrictions on food sales and that type of thing, that's where we do have a limit on the number of those bars available. And the city has the license structure set up so that as the city grows in population, more of those licenses become available. And so that, that's in there to try to manage that growth in a reasonable manner. And then if you can't wait for the city to grow, so a license is available, licenses are sold on the open market. You generally have to buy the business, and then make it your own business. So let's see. One of the things that we've noticed has, again, come to our attention in the last year or so is some of the language that's in the licenses where, like if it talks about the menu offerings, they talk about full service menu offerings that include, steak and shrimp and, food like that, and with a full menu. We have that license, that language was created 30 plus years ago, and so we realized that it's probably time to kind of update that a little bit, and so that's kind of on our agenda, is to make that a little more current. You can have a very nice restaurant that specializes in sandwiches, or maybe it's fancy gourmet pizza or something like that. Another question or something that's come up this last year was the city of Fargo restricts open carry. So you can't just have a beer and go wandering around the streets, right? And so we had a request from the Downtown Partnership to allow people to be able to basically open carry at the street fair. And so we created a permit for the Downtown Partnership that allows them on a Downtown Partnership sponsored event to have open carry, to relax those rules during that time period. They've basically said that they're going to do it during street fair, Corks and Canvas, it's a fundraiser for them, and the Winter Lights Parade. So basically 3 events that they're doing that for. And so we just want to make sure that it's clear that, that hasn't restricted or relaxed the rules on open carry like all the time, that type of thing. So there is a place too in the ordinance that carves out a section that's the west side of the parking lot at the Fargo Dome, and that's basically for Bison football tailgating, right? So the open carry rules are permitted there. I had a question in the first session about, we're all facing difficulty staffing your bars and restaurants, and so is it okay for somebody that's, or at what point is it okay for someone under 21 to be involved in alcohol? So it goes right back to the state law, and state law says that if you're going to be involved in alcohol, distribution or mixing, pouring, serving, that type of thing, you have to be over 21. Then they have one exception that allows if it's in a restaurant and it's your wait person, your staff person is between 18 and 21 and supervised by somebody that is 21, then they are allowed to bring the drink like to the table to serve the alcohol and to collect payment for that. So, but then the person that was asking is, basically, can anybody be involved in it that are under 18? And the answer is no. So if you have someone that is like they bring the food to the table, they're a busboy, they help in the kitchen, they do that kind of thing, they cannot be involved in the alcohol service or any of that type of stuff. So just something to keep in mind, I guess. If you want to get those people server trained so they're kind of aware of what the servers are going through, that's okay. Most of the time, Kayla, and the public health department have slots available. This time of year, we have extra server training going on because when it gets to be a renewal time, is kind of when people, say, hey, I wonder if everybody's up to date on their server training. That kind of brings me to something that was brought up this last year, and it was kind of pointed out that the city of Fargo is slipping a little bit on making sure that people are are caught up. And so we will be reviewing to make sure that everybody has everybody's server trained. We set a target of about 80%. We want to see 80% of your employees server trained. Now, it makes it tough when you've only got like 3 employees or something like that. Then you're basically looking at 100%. Make sure everybody's server trained. So, let's see. Another question that comes up is minors on the licensed premise. And so the state law, and it's reflected also in the city law, says that minors are not allowed where alcohol is served. That's kind of the overarching thing. Then they give you a couple of exceptions, and they say that unless it's in a restaurant where the food sales exceed the alcohol sales, if that's the case, then minors can be on the licensed premise, right? So you're in a restaurant and food sales exceed alcohol sales. If you're in a restaurant and the food sales do not exceed alcohol sales, then the minors can still be present, but they need to be accompanied by their parents. So now you'll see some businesses that make a business decision that, hey, we're just not going to allow minors at any time, or they'll say we're going to allow minors, but only until 8 o'clock at night, some of those kind of things. So, so that's, I don't know if anybody, if that's clear or if that just kind of makes it a little muddier or something like that. But that's most of what I have. I know the chief wants to talk about a penalty matrix that we've been working on. Does anybody have any questions before I hand it off to the chief? Any questions on minors working in your establishment? Yeah. I'm going back in my mind here, and I would like to review that. I'm thinking it may have to be in a restaurant. But yeah, let me just double check on that. Question was whether or not he has a bar license, an AB license, and whether or not he could employ someone under 21. And there's part of me that I'm thinking it might be a requirement that it's in a restaurant, but but let me check on that and make sure.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks for coming. And life isn't fair, so right. Earlier you heard Greg Lemke talking about approaches to issues, and we're both in the people business, right? And so a lot of the times the way you preemptively or proactively approach things helps determine outcomes, and that goes with things that happen in your establishments, and which sometimes turns into calls for service for the police department. Calls for service to your establishments by the police department are not an inherently bad thing, especially if you're being preemptive or proactive about issues. We would rather come and work with you, my supervisors, my officers, work with you on issues that you see perhaps starting to happen within your establishment, and come up with some problem-solving plans with you to prevent those things from happening. Those kind of calls for service, we don't hold that against you. In fact, we would encourage that. It's times where we get called and it's been an issue that's been recurring, and yet management or ownership hasn't done something about it, is when we might start talking about it with you. And if that's not making a difference, then we might be starting to talk about it at liquor control. So I would encourage you to reach out to us early if you are worried about or concerned about issues in your establishment, and we're more than happy to help you with that. So as Steve said, we have been working on kind of a matrix to help people understand our liquor control issues, our licenses, our ordinances regarding the licenses. And if you ever go into the ordinance book and look through the liquor laws for the city of Fargo, it's a little bit confusing. And so we were able to put together a little matrix here. Nancy Morris did a lot of work on this from the city attorney's office. And so that first sheet of paper, it's two-sided. That is what exists right now today. Those are our existing liquor license ordinances of fines, penalties, administrative sanctions regarding those different issues within the city ordinance. Whether it's mandatory meeting or restrictions on sale or over serving, you're going to find that in that matrix and what those offenses equate to: first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. It's certainly easier to understand looking at this as compared to going and looking at the city ordinance book, I guarantee you. Several years ago, we had a subcommittee for liquor control that looked at liquor licenses and then also looked at the penalty structure, administrative sanction structure, and try to look for ways that maybe we could simplify it to make it easier to understand, easier to work with, so that you as owners or management could understand what you were dealing with. And what that committee came up with, this committee was made up of a couple of city commissioners, myself, Steve, some of the license holders that attend these meetings with you. We came up with this matrix here, not so different from what they do, I think it was in St. Paul, and so that it was a little easier to see what the ordinance was and what the penalties were. And this has kind of sat dormant for a little bit, but we've decided to bring it up at our last liquor control meeting so that people could discuss it. And in our last liquor control meeting, we were asking for public input from yourselves, the license holders, and then from the community at large. What do you like about the existing structure? What do you like about this, let's just say, model? Would you rather stay with the existing structure? Would you like to see some changes, make it easier to understand, a few less steps? We're kind of open to that input and want to hear from you, especially as license holders, and then we'll also hear from the public at large. So I would encourage you to come to Liquor Control and talk to us, give us your input as to what you think of these different matrices, and we're going to kind of take our cue from you on where do we go next with this. Any questions? All right, I will be in the back here. Steve's going to probably wrap it up. And if you have any questions that come up, I'll be right back here and you can come and talk to me.
Before I put the final touches on today's meeting, Kayla just has a couple of things to say on behalf of Fargo-Cass Public Health.
All right, so I just want to talk really quick about server training. We're going to be adding our June classes. We'll be sending out the schedule on Monday. And I also want to say that there's some changes in employees. So Preston will be taking over server training. He has his business cards in the back. So if you ever need to squeeze someone into a class or have any questions if an employee is up to date, feel free to give him a call or an email and he can help you out.
And again, we'll be reviewing as part of the license renewal, reviewing the server training compliance to make sure that we have enough. So, John, I did go and check that, and it does say in a restaurant. So they can only be involved in the delivery of alcohol if it's in a restaurant, if they're between 18 and 21. So, any other questions or any other comments? Sorry that it's so hard to get up here, and so you know, it's a difficult place to find. But I would appreciate, the chief's in the back doing the wave of the sidewalk. It's our employee fitness program, right? Got to come up that sidewalk. We appreciate your coming, and that ends our program for today. And thanks for everything. Oh, one final thing, I guess. If you haven't signed in, if we missed you coming in, make sure you sign in. That's how we know you're here. And then if you have any paperwork or anything that needs to be turned in, Michelle's in the gold vest back there, and she'll be glad to take any of that from you. Okay, thank you very much.